Hello and welcome back everybody. My name is Alyssa and today we've got like a mood lighting going on. It's actually like 10 o'clock at night and so the sun is down. There's no natural sunlight coming in and I have my like yellow light on instead of like the super bright hospital light that's in my kitchen right behind me. And there's also the light from the laptop sitting next to me because there's a reason it's here. If you read the title of the video, you know today we are going to be reading 1-star reviews of 5 of my favorite books. I wanted to do something fun, just to kind of laugh about, like I'm not the kind of person who goes out and like looks for negative reviews of my favorite books. Like I know that my favorite books aren't liked by everybody and I'm not offended when somebody doesn't like my favorite book. The only time I've ever become like slightly offended by someone who didn't like my favorite book is when they're just hating on it to hate on it. You know what I mean? Or like their negative feedback, it just doesn't really feel genuine and it just feels like they went into the idea of like they were gonna hate it and so they're purposely hating it. Like that's the only time I get kind of like irritated, but even then, like I'm not the kind who will go into people's comments like defending my favorite books. But I still like to read negative reviews because some negative reviews are hilarious, others are informative, and then others are just like, okay. And I know this kind of video can be pretty fun, and I know I've watched my share of videos like this. I think they're fun. I think they're hilarious, especially like depending on which ones are read, But I have decided to pick just 5 books, and I think I'll probably read like 2 or 3 negative reviews from each one because I don't want the video to be too long, obviously, but I also want to just have some fun. So with that said, let's just go ahead and let's jump into the first one, and that would be Sea of Rest by C. Robert Cargill. This is a post-apocalyptic story about robots and how they're all that's left on Earth. Like it's just robots. Okay, and I loved the book. I found the post-apocalyptic thing quite interesting, and I loved the idea of the robots being the only thing left, but also like now you're following all the issues that the robots have. So let's see. Also, I did the audiobook for it, which I think definitely helped. I'm looking for like some of the like slightly shorter-ish ones because like I said, I don't want us to like be here forever. So hopefully I can find some shortish ones. Here's one. Politics ruin everything. I mean, yes, there's politics in the book, but I mean, what fantasy and sci-fi book doesn't have politics? Like, I always find it so intriguing when people take issue with politics being in a book, and I'm just like, it's part of life, unfortunately. So many books are a reflection of real life and everything, and so yeah, it's gonna like pull from something. Let's see this one. It's like ordering pie and finding it has no filling. I felt like my life was wasted by a guy trying to pitch a very bad robot movie to me. This was tough because I really didn't like it, but I don't like to leave a book unread. Add to the fact that I'm an extremely slow reader and sometimes lose interest. The only thing that somewhat intrigued me was how OWIs came to be. But now I can move on to other books. At least I'll know not to watch it if they ever turn it into a movie. What's so funny about this particular review to me is C. Robert Cargill actually does do movies. Like he works on movies. I think he's like a movie writer, but also maybe sometimes like a director. So like he has roots in movie making as well as writing books. So the fact that he's like, I'm never gonna, if they made this into a movie, I would never. And I'm just like, that's so funny. Here's another one. DNF. I was happily reading a survival story in a dystopian future when Slam. Current political prejudices rise up from the page and destroy the story. Such hate sells well in Hollywood. It would be helpful to have less of it in literature, or perhaps more artfully done. Some readers will love it, as the prejudice is what they believe to be the truth. I always just find it so fascinating when a book that has political storylines in it, which is a lot of fantasy and a lot of sci-fi, people take issue with it and they're like, it ruined the story. And it's like, what do you think people write about? Like, even so many like romances nowadays, there's political ideas inside of them, like, because everything is political. But I love how like annoyed she is, because she literally, like, she writes out dystopian future when ... slam ... current political prejudices. You're just like, okay, lady, okay. And it's so funny because like the story literally, like, it's a post-apocalyptic, like, that's the other thing too, like, it's a dystopian post-apocalyptic story. Like, politics are what led there. Like, we're literally heading that direction right now in our current state. Like, we're heading towards a dystopian setting. Like, hello. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next I have is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This one is actually, it's such a hard one for me to like describe, because it's such an interesting little book, and it's one of those ones where, in my personal opinion, you have to read it to like even be able to determine. And it's going to be one of those books where you're either going to hate it or you're going to love it. And I fell into the category of I loved it. But again, it's one that I personally just don't really know how to talk about it. So if you read it, then maybe you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, let's read this first one. I rarely write bad reviews, but this was one of the most boring and repetitive books I've ever read. Halls, vegetables, statues, albatross, halls, vegetables, statues, albatross, and blah, blah, blah. So, God, boring, tedious, and overhyped. This is the kind of book that puts me in a slump. I understand I'm in the minority here. Most people have given this 5 stars. God knows why. I mean, yeah, there's certain things that are a little repetitive in it. But yeah, let's see. I can't help it. I need a plot and something I can hold on to. It slipped through my fingers into the 43rd vestibule to the right of a statue covered in seaweed. Like, they're not wrong about these particular words being used a lot in the book. Like, I can't be mad about it, you know? Reading this book felt exactly like listening to someone tell you, in excruciating detail, all about that crazy dream they had last night. Poorly structured, grasping at meaning unsuccessfully, and just so uninteresting. It does read like a crazy dream. Like, honestly, like, and I think that's one of the things that I liked about it. Like, it just felt so crazy and just strange to me that I fell in love with it. But I mean, they're not wrong for thinking that that's what it feels like. It's a pretty good description, if you ask me, honestly. So can't be mad about it. Why does one of my pages keep closing out? Oh, it didn't close out. I just didn't click on it properly. All right, next we are going to do Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. This is one of the few and far between romances that I love. Like, I love the series in general. It has its problems. I'm not gonna lie. It has its problems. But this is one of my favorite couples, and it's probably the only romance book in existence where I like the enemies to lovers trope, because other than that, I actually despise that trope. But I actually liked it in this one. And so they're one of my favorite couples. And the thing is like, you guys have to understand, like, romance readers, they can be so brutal in their 1-star reviews. So let's see. All right, this first one. I'm at 39% and not sure I can finish. How old is Liz? 14? If you touch me there, I'll hate you. Oh God, I want you, but don't touch me. You're so grumpy. Although she doesn't think he understands her and he bends over backwards to take care of her, Liz is mean and hateful, and I now hate, hate the word cootie. I don't want him. Must be the stupid cootie. And then there's the effing cootie. Why is it so against him? I have no idea. Why is she so mean? I don't know that either. How this got 4 of 5 stars? No freaking idea, unless it gets better and it's not just 200 pages of, I can't be with him. Hate books like that. Grow up. Like, it starts out rough. I'm not gonna lie. It starts out rough because, like, it's the second book in the series. Homegirl is mad. She's on this ice planet covered in snow. It's freezing. She has like no clothes. She gets kidnapped by a big giant blue alien who he doesn't have anger issues, but he's grumpy. He's definitely grumpy because he's like the outcast of the group, because like he's looked down upon. He's got a broken horn, and you know, he's moody, and he's all of those kind of things, and like she's now stuck with him because he's like, that's my woman. Like, yeah, she's a little rough around the edges, okay? But like, her character does a lot of growing throughout the series, but like in the first half of the book, yeah, sure, she's a little rough, but like towards the end of the book, she's not that bad, okay? And then as the series progresses, she becomes amazing, okay? She is a strong woman. What in the Stockholm Syndrome? That's it. And then we have F this book, 1 star. Just that. Just that. Let's see. That one is way too long. This one is, let's see. That one just used the little image of Bugs Bunny going, no. Now this was cringe as to read. More cringe than the first one. No plot again, but I'm not mad about it. We're here for the blue. And this is why I'm mad. There was simply not enough action. If I'm embarrassing myself, then I better get enough reasons to do so. There wasn't enough blue manhood in this one for her. I'm so sorry. Oh man. I hated this book, mostly because of the heroine. She's super annoying, itchy, and just plain rude. I knew from the first book that she was like this, but reading her book just made me hate her. The hero might be rough around the edges, but he cared for her and even learned her language so that they could speak to each other. He made sure she stayed alive and took care of her needs, but she threw his kindness back in his face and told him repeatedly that she hated him. I got sick of her horrible behavior, so I stopped reading. 28% in. I mean, if you had finished it, you would have known. She changed her mind about that. And then this last one, because honestly, I so agree with this one. Georgie and Vectel, or actually, she put Vectlot. She put Georgie and Vectlot. His name is Vectel. They're from the first book. Or whatever his name is, are effing annoying. Liz and her guy were okay-ish, but Georgie and Valcat, because then she changes it, ruined it for me. I would have given it a 1.2, but again, effing annoying Georgie. Like, me and my best friend, we binge read this in like the entire series in like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And by the end of the series, we were both just like, Georgie and Vectel are low-key super annoying. Like, because they always just pop up at like the most unnecessary time. And you're just like, can you get out of here? This isn't your book. Like, go. Like, I love the fact that like Ruby brings in all the characters from the previous books and from future books, and like it's not just focusing on just solely the couple, and like you get to see like their everyday life living on this planet, and it's more than just the romance and everything. But like sometimes you're just like, if I have to see these two one more time. So like I get this person's frustration with Georgie and Vectel, because for being Liz and Rahush's book, why are you guys there so often? You know, and it's like, and they're such Mary Sue characters, like both Georgie and Vectel, they're such Mary Sue, so you're just like, I don't, go away. But also at the same time, like every time Josie appears in a book, I just get vehemently angry because I hate her. I hate her. So moving on. We are now going to be talking about Cersei. This is my anniversary edition. I have like 3 different copies of it because I love this book. I love Cersei by Miss Madeline Miller. And I know this isn't a good hit for everybody. And if you don't know Cersei, it's Greek mythology, okay? That's from Cersei's point of view. I loved everything about this. I also like personally connected with Cersei on certain aspects of her life. Not obviously like being a goddess as much as I wish I was, but it's like the everyday mundane things that I connected with her on. So let's see what some people had to say negatively about it. This one is, I know I like looked through here and I found a couple earlier because a lot of these negative reviews are like books. People had stuff to say, you know? A YA novel masquerading as a Greek mythology 101 retelling feels like the author just had a checklist of major events characters she wanted to talk about without ever focusing on any single one of them, and it ultimately turns into a jumbled mess. I'm gonna highly disagree with that, especially the YA part. Like, it's so frustrating when men in particular don't like a book written by a woman and they're like, it's YA. It's not actually. It's not a YA masquerading as anything other than, like, it's not masquerading as anything. Like, it's an adult book. It has its moments where it's deep and everything, and it's just like she does do a good job like focusing on the different parts of the myth. Like, but it's the YA part that's bothering me. Like, if you didn't like it, that's fine, but you don't have to like degrade it down like that. Let's see. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't with this book. Maybe it's because the author seems to channel Homer in her writing a little bit too much for me. Maybe it's because I find the story a little disorienting as I know too much about Greek mythology. Maybe it's because I don't find the characters interesting. I honestly don't know, but I just can't do it. I'm bailing. That's one of the things that I always find quite interesting when it comes to Greek mythology retellings. While I myself am very into Greek mythologies and I know a lot about a lot of them, when I read these, I try to separate the two because I know it's an author who is attempting to put their own spin on things, and whereas other people don't do that. You know, they're just like, I know everything about the myth, so what I know is right and what you know is wrong. The amount of people who don't know the correct myth behind Medusa, that one's an interesting one, because woo boy. Let's see. This person only made it 145 pages. The writing was so terribly bland. I felt little attachment to any of the characters. The plot was lost on me. I couldn't identify any catalyst or twist that made me want to continue on. I could not bring myself to read anymore. I think this is the first book I have DNF'd in years. I mean, there's plenty of, I wouldn't say there's twists going on in the book, but there's definitely like catalyst moments that like trigger certain events, and like there's a chain reaction to everything that happens. So no twists, but definitely events that trigger something. Let's see. Let's find one more. Some of these are just, these ones aren't really all that fun to read. They're just kind of like, it was boring, I didn't like it, I didn't care for the character. Let's see. Yeah, well, that was disappointing. It was highly boring and wasn't all engaging. Honestly, if I could rate this 1 star, if not for Madeline's writing, because her words are upstanding. There is a lot of that I see, where a lot of people are like, it's boring, it's this, it's that, but I like Madeline's writing. Like, I do think she has an amazing writing style. I personally didn't find the characters boring. I think what it is like, Cersei isn't a, she's not a loud character. She's a quiet character. And I think sometimes that can be hard for a lot of people to stay interested in, is a character who's quiet, more reserved. They tend to not really speak up too much for themselves. They tend to internalize a lot of their issues, which is what Cersei does for a lot of this book. She tends to internalize a lot of her anger and everything, and it eventually like boils over and everything. But like, I do think that is something that a lot of people just aren't like interested in nor used to reading, because so many books follow characters that are just they're loud, they're aggressive, they're, you know, they're strong, they're like coming at you all the time. Like, the quiet characters never really get a lot of attention in books, and I think we need more quiet characters, more characters that internalize their stuff instead of always speaking out and everything like that. Like, just so that it can kind of like help people learn to read from another perspective. And I think that's where a lot of the issue falls with Cersei, since so many of them were just like, she's boring. It feels like there's nothing happening. Like, she's a quiet character. So that's my thoughts on that. And then the last one on here is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. And if you've been around the fantasy scene enough, you know what this one is. I love this one. This is actually the book that got me back into reading. It is like the book that I like kind of like say like saved my life or whatever, you know, one of those kind of things. But I love this book with my whole heart. So let's see what people had to say about it. If you think it's utterly hilarious that a wizard dressed in onesie uses his cure against erectile dysfunction in a skirmish against opponents to give allies and enemies, well, you'll find this book great. It's not my kind of humor, and this book is full of it. It made that I never cared for whatever happened, nor felt any attachment to any of the characters, except perhaps for Clay, who repeatedly wants this adventure to be over with so that he can go home. I felt the same. I personally found Moog to be hilarious, okay? I found Moog to be one of the most funniest takes on a wizard, okay? Like, he's not good at being a wizard. He tries. Bless his heart. He tries. He's not good at it, though. You know, so I always found him, you know, kind of funny. Although Clay, I do have to say, like, Clay does spend a lot of that book just going, can we get this over with now? I want to go home. Like, he had a wife and a kid, okay? He just wanted to be with his lady, okay? Let's see. It's giving, I hate women, but I love my daughter. Clay Cooper and his band were once the best of the best, the meanest, dirtiest, most feared crew of mercenaries this side of the wild. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that first line, like, really stuck out to me, because, like, I don't get where people get this whole I hate women thing, when literally, like, these old men get beat up by a group of women. Like, I don't remember having any issue with the way Ames wrote his female characters in this, because he had a variety of them. But I have to say, the band of women that beat up Clay and all the others, that was like one of the best scenes. Like, hello. Let's see. Fell for the cover but didn't care for the book. This cover is fantastic, okay? I'm still mad that Broken Binding took this cover away. Like, this cover is amazing. I'm also just in love with Richard Anderson's art. Childish, churlish, meandering, and no plot. I wouldn't mind the meandering if it leaned into the picturesque, say, but it doesn't have enough sense or purpose to do that. Someone said it's like a D&D campaign that never ends. I find it interesting that they're like, there's no plot, but literally the plot of the story is rescuing Golden Gabe's daughter. There's a plot there, babe. There's a plot. They're trying to rescue Golden Gabe's daughter, and then war and stuff happens, and fights and everything. Like, there's a plot in there. I'm sorry you couldn't see it. It's pretty obvious from the start of the story what the plot is. Let's see. Many parts of this felt like reading the backstory to someone else's D&D character, overly concerned with lore, sometimes nonsensical, and above all, irrelevant to my interest and boring. Disclaimer, I am a passionate Dungeons & Dragons player. Yeah, I see the Dungeons and Dragons comparison all the time. As someone who personally doesn't like Dungeons and Dragons, like I've I don't care to play it. I don't care to watch it. I don't care to be involved in it. Like it's not my thing. I have to say this one, when I read it, it didn't give me D&D vibes. It just gave me like kind of like classic fantasy feels with lots of music, you know? Let's see. Da, 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 da. What is... Oh, that's a soup. Wow, you had a lot to say, buddy. Ain't no way y'all actually like this. That's it. That's it. Ain't no way. Oh, goodness. I like the initial setup, but the comedy didn't work for me, and the characters were too cartoonish, making it a bit dull, sadly. Maybe it's just me, as I'm a big cartoon watcher. I don't see how cartoonish and dull kind of like go together. Like I don't know. Oh, this. I just want to read the first sentence on this one. Upon learning that the monsters are, in fact, taken directly from Dungeons and Dragons manuals and not at all original or noteworthy, I'm removing yet another star from my rating. I hope vampire books lose a star rating too, because those aren't original either. Like, if you're gonna knock down this book because they pulled from actual D&D sources to put creatures in their book, then you should do that for all creatures in books, honestly. Like, if every creature has to be made up and noteworthy and has to be completely original, you better treat all books with creatures and monsters like that. Like, you better have knocked a star off of the last unicorn, because we already have unicorns established in mythology and lore and stuff like that. Like, that's not new and noteworthy. I hated this book. Poor humor, terrible plot, bad characters. Can't understand why it gets high ratings. It is really bad, badly written, pure marketing success, nothing else. I mean, you're allowed to have your opinion. I will say a lot of these other ones, they kind of just focus on the humor, not liking it. Just a lot of them just... Also, the extended rock band metaphor becomes tedious very quickly. I mean, not really, honestly. I'm just gonna say. I liked all the musical elements, honestly. I think it was a nice change from where people pull their inspiration from. Like, I love the musical background aspect for this. Like, I find it fascinating and very interesting, and like, I kind of feel like it sets it apart from other fantasy books, because a lot of times, most fantasy books just kind of pull from like they're like, oh, I want to go for that Tolkien-esque kind of thing, or I want to be more like Martin and do that kind of thing. And Ames was like, rock bands. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So, yeah, they're not as fun. Some of these reviews are not as like terrible as like some other books. Like, if you guys have been around long enough, Sarah J. Maas, she can get some of them negative reviews on her books are hilarious. Sometimes when I need a good laugh, I'll just go read them. I have no intention of ever reading those books, but I will go and read those negative reviews just to get a good laugh, because they're brutal. Or I'll just go look up some romance books that I didn't like, and I'm like, why else didn't other people also like these? These ones, they weren't as bad, and it's probably just because, it's the type of books they are. They didn't garner that kind of attention. But either way, I still had fun reading these. I still liked seeing what some of the reasons are for, like, why people didn't like them. And, seeing if I either agreed with them or didn't agree with them, that kind of thing. And for the most part, I kind of, like, disagree with all of them. But also, like, to each their own. Reading is subjective. They're all allowed to have their opinions. They're allowed to exist, I think they're wrong, but that's my thing. But I'm also not gonna like hunt them down and like tell them they're terrible, horrible people because they didn't like my favorite book, because I can guarantee you I probably don't like their favorite book. So, especially like with the Ice Planet Barbarian series, the amount of girls who love Josie's book, put that book in the trash. Put the book in the trash. So, eventually we're gonna do the opposite video where I read 5-star reviews from my worst reads, and that one might be actually kind of fun because there might be more opinions from me. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was just something fun that I wanted to do, kind of switch it up around here, have a little fun. And so yeah, let me know what you guys have been reading down in the comments, or comment on any of these. I don't know, maybe you also hated some of these books. I don't know. Don't be rude though, okay? Talk to you guys next time. Bye.